The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that sparkled against the stars. Inside, 200 different species gathered in their assigned seats, their forms ranging from the familiar to the utterly alien. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had legs, others floated on cushions of air. But today, all their eyes turned toward the center platform where Captain Day stood alone. Day wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. No medals decorated his chest, though he had earned plenty in his 40 years of service. His face showed lines of exhaustion that came from too many wars and too little appreciation. Behind him, Dr. Hana sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap. She looked calm, but Day knew better. They had prepared for this moment for 3 years. High Arbiter Kelos materialized above the central platform. The ancient being had no solid form, just waves of golden light that pulsed with each word it spoke. Its voice echoed through every translation device in the chamber. "Captain Day of Earth," Kelos began, "you have been summoned to answer serious charges. Your species has developed weapons beyond approved parameters. Your fleet has grown larger than permitted. You have refused inspections of your facilities. How do you answer these accusations?" Dee looked up at the floating lights. He did not bow. He did not apologize. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small data pad. "I have some numbers to share," Day said, his voice steady and clear. "In the 300 years since Earth joined the Galactic Council, humanity has fought in 47 wars. Not our wars, your wars. We fought to stop border disputes between the Krell and the Voskan. We died protecting Pelthic colonies from raiders. We bled in the frozen moons of Sector 9 to prevent a genocide we did not start." The chamber remained silent. Some species shifted in their seats. Others watched with unreadable expressions. "Those 47 wars cost us 890,000 human lives," Day continued. "Young men and women who left Earth to serve the Council. They believed they were keeping peace. They believed they were making the galaxy safer. They believed that their sacrifice mattered." Counselor Vren, a tall insectoid creature with 6 arms, clicked its mandibles together impatiently. "This information is already known. Your species volunteered for military service. No one forced you to fight." Day smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You are right. You never forced us. But every time a war started, every time violence broke out somewhere in Council space, who did you call? When the Zerath invaded the mining colonies, who stopped them? When pirates raided the trade lanes, who hunted them down? When your own species could not protect yourselves, who did you send to die? Earth has been compensated fairly," another counselor said from the shadows. "Your planet has received technology, resources, and protection under Council law." "Protection?" Dr. Hana spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the chamber. "The Council gave us medical technology that was already 500 years old by your standards. You shared navigation systems that were obsolete. You offered us protection from threats that only existed because we joined the Council in the first place." She stood and walked to stand beside Day. "And in return, you demanded we limit our own development. We could not build ships beyond certain specifications. We could not research weapons that might make us too powerful. We could not even explore certain regions of space without permission. You wanted us strong enough to fight your wars, but weak enough to never threaten you." Kelos pulsed brighter. "The Council maintains balance. If every species developed without limits, chaos would follow. We have kept peace for 10,000 years using these principles." "Peace." Day repeated the word slowly. "Is that what you call it? I have seen your peace. I walked through the ruins of Pelthic cities that burned while the Council debated whether to intervene. I carried the bodies of children who died because the Council fleet arrived 3 days too late. I watched entire civilizations fall because the Council moved too slowly, argued too long, and cared too little." The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Clicks, growls, electronic screeches, and howls filled the air. Species shouted at Day in a dozen languages. But Day stood firm, waiting for the noise to die down. When silence returned, Vren spoke again. "You forget your place, human. Earth is a junior member. You have no voting rights because your species is too young. You are too aggressive. Too emotional. In time, perhaps in another 1,000 years, you may earn full membership. Until then, you serve the Council's decisions. We have served enough." Day said quietly. Those 4 words hung in the air like a blade about to fall. Kelos dimmed slightly. "Explain yourself, Captain." Day looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and sensors of every species he could see. For 3 centuries, we asked for voting rights. We were denied. We asked to be treated as equals. We were told to wait. We asked for fair technology exchange. We received scraps. We asked for the right to defend ourselves as we saw fit. You called it militarization and threatened sanctions. He paused, letting each word sink in. 3 years ago, Earth's government sent a proposal to this council. We requested full membership status. We requested the right to develop our own technology without restrictions. We requested that human soldiers would only be deployed with Earth's explicit approval for each mission. Do you remember what answer the council gave? Silence. The council rejected every request, Day continued. You said humanity was not ready. You said we needed another 500 years of maturity. You said our request showed exactly why we could not be trusted with more authority. Dr. Hana touched her wrist device. Around the chamber, holographic displays appeared showing documents and communications. 6 months ago, the Council demanded Earth surrender our quantum communication network. You wanted full access to the technology we developed, the network we built and maintained. You claimed it was for the good of all species. That technology belongs to the Council, Vren insisted. All major developments must be shared under the membership accords. The membership accords that Earth signed 300 years ago. Day agreed. The same accords that promised fair treatment, technology exchange, and eventual full membership. You broke your promises. Why should we keep ours? Kelos expanded, filling more of the chamber with golden light. Captain Day, I warn you. Do not make threats you cannot support. Earth is one world among thousands. You need the Council far more than the Council needs you. Day looked up at the swirling lights. In that moment, he felt the weight of every dead soldier he had commanded. He remembered their faces, their names, their hopes. He thought of Earth, his home, and the billions of humans who were tired of being used. You are wrong, Day said simply. For 300 years, Earth needed the Council. We needed your knowledge, your protection, your acceptance. But those days are over. We have learned what we needed to learn. We have grown stronger than you realized. And we are done asking for respect from an organization that will never give it freely. He pressed a button on his data pad. Throughout the chamber, alert sounds began to ring. Effective immediately, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council, Day announced. Our ambassadors are leaving your worlds. Our soldiers are returning home. Our ships are pulling out of every Council operation. And the quantum communication network that connects this entire galaxy, he smiled. We are taking it with us. The chamber exploded in chaos. Species shouted and screamed. Alarms blared. On the holographic displays, everyone could see what was happening. Human ships were moving. Thousands of them all across Council space, all heading in the same direction. Back to Earth. And one by one, the quantum relay stations went dark. The network that allowed instant communication across light years began to collapse. Only humans could operate the core systems, and they were shutting everything down. You cannot do this, Vren screeched. This is treason. This is rebellion. No, Dr. Hana said calmly. This is resignation. We quit. Day and Hana walked toward the exit. Around them, species scrambled and argued and panicked. But the 2 humans moved through the chaos with quiet dignity. They had said what needed to be said. They had done what needed to be done. As they reached their ship, Day looked back one last time at the Council station. It was already falling apart. Without humans to keep the peace, without instant communication to coordinate responses, the careful balance was breaking. The galaxy had taken humanity for granted for 3 centuries. Now it would learn what happened when Earth walked away. Their ship's engines hummed to life, and they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the stars drowned in silence. Commander June stood on the bridge of the transport ship Harmony, watching the radar screen fill with green dots. Each dot represented a ship full of humans leaving their homes in Council space. Some had lived on alien worlds their entire lives. Some had never even seen Earth, but now all of them were coming home. How many ships in this convoy? June asked. 243, sir, his officer replied. About 15,000 people total. This is the 17th convoy this week. June nodded slowly. 3 months had passed since Captain Day walked out of the Council chamber. 3 months since Earth shut down the quantum network. 3 months since humanity began the largest evacuation in its history. 40 million humans lived in Council space. They worked as doctors, engineers, teachers, and soldiers. They had built lives on distant worlds, married aliens, raised families. Now Earth was calling them home, and most were answering. But it was not easy. "Sir, we are receiving a distress signal," the communications officer said. "It is from the human colony on Vexar 7. They say local authorities are preventing them from leaving." June felt anger rise in his chest. "What reason are they giving?" "The Vexar government claims the humans owe taxes and cannot leave until debts are paid." "But sir, the amounts they are demanding are impossible. They want 20 years of back taxes calculated at rates that did not exist when the humans arrived." It was happening more and more. Some alien governments realized that losing their human populations meant losing skilled workers. They invented reasons to keep humans from leaving. Some were legal barriers. Others were more direct threats. "Send Admiral Cade's fleet the coordinates," June ordered. "Tell the Vexar government they have 6 hours to release our people, or we will come get them ourselves." He hated making threats. But Earth had made its position clear. Every human who wanted to come home would be brought home, no matter what stood in the way. Across the bridge, another officer suddenly stood up. "Commander, we are getting reports from multiple sectors. Border conflicts are escalating. The Krell and Voskin are fighting again. The Meridian Alliance is collapsing. There are reports of pirate raids in the outer zones." June was not surprised. Without the quantum network, the Council could not coordinate responses. Messages that used to arrive in seconds now took days or weeks. By the time the Council fleet could respond to a crisis, it was usually too late. "That is not our problem anymore," June said, though the words tasted bitter in his mouth. On the planet below, Ambassador Rin watched smoke rise from the northern continent. Her world, Pelthus Prime, was under attack. The raiders had come 3 days ago, and the Council fleet was still nowhere in sight. Rin was not human. She was Pelthic, a species of tall, graceful beings with silver skin and large eyes. For 200 years, her people had lived in peace under Council protection. But that protection had always depended on human soldiers responding quickly to threats. Now there were no humans to call. She walked through the refugee camp, past families huddled in temporary shelters. Children cried for parents who would not return. The injured lay on cots waiting for medical supplies that might never arrive. The human doctors who had staffed the hospitals were gone, evacuated months ago. "Ambassador Rin," a voice called. She turned to see a young Pelthic soldier, his uniform scorched and torn. "The raiders have taken another city. Our defense forces cannot stop them. When will the Council fleet arrive?" Rin had no answer. She had sent urgent messages to the Council for 3 days. She had begged, pleaded, and demanded. But without the quantum network, her messages traveled slowly through space. By the time they reached the Council, by the time the Council debated what to do, by the time a fleet could be assembled and sent, her world might be ashes. "We must try to contact Earth," the soldier said quietly. "Earth will not answer," Rin replied, though her heart ached at the words. "They have closed their borders. They are done with the Council and everyone in it." "But your people were always kind to humans," the soldier insisted. "You voted for their membership. You supported their requests. Surely they remember that." Rin wanted to believe it. The Pelthic government had been one of only 7 species that consistently supported human rights in the Council. But would that matter now? Would Earth distinguish between friends and enemies, or had they simply written off the entire galaxy? Far across space, in the Council chamber on Vacros Prime, Councillor Vren looked at reports that made his blood run cold. Well, his species did not have blood exactly, but the feeling was the same. The galaxy was falling apart. Without instant communication, border disputes that would have been resolved in hours now dragged on for weeks. Trade routes that relied on coordinated schedules were breaking down. Medical emergencies that required immediate consultation between specialists on different worlds now resulted in countless deaths. And the military situation was worse. The Council fleet had been designed to respond quickly to threats anywhere in Council space. Human ships with their quantum communicators had always served as the advance force. They arrived first, held the line, and called for reinforcements. The rest of the Council fleet would follow, knowing exactly where to go and what to expect. Now there was no advance force. No instant communication, no coordination. By the time the Council fleet reached a crisis, the situation had usually changed completely. They arrived too late with the wrong ships prepared for battles that were already over. "How many conflicts are currently active?" Fran asked his aide. 47, Counselor, and that number is increasing daily. 47. The same number of wars humans had fought for the Council over 3 centuries. Vren felt the weight of that irony. What about the quantum network? Have we made any progress accessing it? The aide shook his head. The technology is locked with genetic codes. Only humans can operate the core systems. We have tried to replicate their technology, but it will take years, maybe decades. Vren had opposed Earth's withdrawal. He had argued that humans were too valuable to lose. But he had also believed that humanity was too dependent on the Council to actually leave. He thought Earth was bluffing, making threats they would never follow through on. He had been wrong. Contact Earth, Vren ordered. Send a message to their government. Tell them we are willing to discuss new terms. Tell them we acknowledge mistakes were made. Tell them we need their help. The aide hesitated. Counselor, we have sent 17 messages to Earth in the past month. None have been answered. Then send an 18th, Vren snapped, and a 19th. Keep sending messages until they respond. But deep down, Vren knew the truth. Earth was not ignoring the messages because they had not seen them. Earth was ignoring the messages because they had nothing to say. Humanity had moved on. Back aboard the Harmony, Commander June watched another convoy of human ships arrive. These came from the Outer Rim, from colonies so distant they had barely received any news about the withdrawal. But they had come anyway, trusting Earth to guide them home. Sir, Admiral Cade is reporting success at Vexar 7, an officer announced. The local government released the human colonists after the Admiral's fleet entered orbit. No shots fired. Good, June said, but he knew it would not always be that easy. His console beeped with a new message. It was from Director Minho on Earth, head of the External Monitoring Bureau. June read it quickly, his expression growing darker. What is it, Commander? His second officer asked. June looked up at the view screen where stars stretched endlessly in all directions. Somewhere out there, the Pelthic homeworld was burning. Somewhere out there, species that had been kind to humanity were suffering. Somewhere out there, innocent people were dying because the Council could not protect them anymore. Director Minho is asking for evacuation updates, June said carefully. He wants to know when the last humans will be out of Council space. And he is also sending intelligence reports about the situation in the galaxy. Species at war, civilizations collapsing, humanitarian disasters spreading. He wants commanders to be aware of what is happening. The second officer understood the implication. Is Earth considering intervention? No, June said firmly. Earth's position is clear. We protect our own. We are done fighting the Council's wars. We are done dying for species that never valued our sacrifice. Even the species that did value us? The officer asked quietly. Even people like the Pelthics who supported us? June did not answer. He did not have an answer. On the view screen, another convoy of human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They were coming home, leaving behind worlds they had helped build, people they had served with, and lives they had created. They were leaving because Earth had finally learned a hard lesson. You cannot make people respect you by dying for them. Respect had to be earned another way. By walking away. By showing the galaxy what it was like without humanity's help. The stars drowned in silence, and in that silence, the galaxy was learning the cost of taking Earth for granted. Commander June watched the convoys arrive and wondered if humanity would ever go back. Or if the bridges they were burning would light the way forward to a better future, one where Earth stood alone but stood proud. Director Minho sat in the dimly lit control room deep beneath Earth's surface. Hundreds of screens surrounded him, each showing different parts of the galaxy. He watched civilizations burn and he did nothing. 18 months had passed since Earth walked away from the Council. 18 months since the last human ship crossed back into Earth's territory. 18 months since humanity sealed its borders and turned its back on the galaxy. The defensive perimeter was perfect. Human ships patrolled the border in shifts, their sensors watching for any vessel that might try to cross. New weapons platforms orbited every approach vector, armed with technology the Council had never seen. Earth had been busy during its isolation. Sir, we have another message from the Council, Lieutenant Yuna said from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with sharp eyes that watched the screens with barely contained frustration. How many is that this week? Minho asked, though he already knew. 14, sir. This one is from Counselor Vren personally. He is leading a diplomatic ship to our border. He wants permission to enter and speak with our government. Send the standard response. Our borders are closed. Turn back, Una hesitated. Sir, he is also sending information about the humanitarian crisis in Sector 9. 43 minor species have been enslaved or gone extinct in the past year. He is asking if Earth will at least accept refugees. Minho closed his eyes. He had seen the reports. He knew what was happening in Sector 9. Without human intervention, powerful species were taking advantage of the chaos. Weaker civilizations that had relied on council protection were being conquered, enslaved, or simply wiped out. The answer is no, Minho said quietly. We cannot save everyone. If we open our borders to refugees, we will be flooded. Millions will come, and then billions. We cannot support them all. We could save some, Una said, her voice tight. Minho looked at her. He saw the anger there, the disgust. She was not alone. Many humans, especially the younger ones who had not lived through the wars, questioned Earth's isolation policy. They asked why humanity, with all its power, did nothing while innocents suffered. Lieutenant, do you know how many humans died fighting council wars? Minho asked. 890,000, sir? Do you know how many were wounded? How many came home with injuries that never healed, with minds broken by what they saw? Una said nothing. 2.3 million, Minho continued. 2.3 million humans damaged in body or mind because the council needed soldiers. And when those soldiers came home when they needed help, what did the council provide? Outdated medical technology, insufficient mental health resources, apologies that meant nothing. He stood and walked to the main view screen where a live feed showed the Pelthic refugee fleet drifting through space. Hundreds of ships packed with survivors going nowhere because no one would take them. I see the suffering, Lieutenant. I see it every day on these screens. But I also remember what it cost us to be the galaxy's saviors. We bled for 300 years and no one thanked us. They used us and told us we were not good enough for a seat at their table. The Pelthic supported us, Una said. Ambassador Rin's people voted for our membership. They treated humans with respect. Do they deserve this? Minho felt the knife twist in his heart. She was right. The Pelthics had been friends, but that was the cruelty of Earth's decision. To make it mean something, to force the galaxy to understand the cost of losing humanity. Earth could not pick favorites. They had to stay isolated, stay strong, and let the galaxy burn. War is coming to our borders, he said instead of answering her question directly. Intelligence suggests the conflicts will spread this way within 2 years. If we weaken ourselves trying to save others, if we scatter our forces across the galaxy, we will not be able to defend Earth when the threats arrive here. It was a logical argument, a practical argument, but Minho knew it was also an excuse. Earth could help some species without compromising its defense. The truth was darker and simpler. Earth's government had decided the galaxy needed to learn a lesson, and lessons taught through suffering were the ones that lasted. Across the galaxy, Counselor Vren stood on the bridge of his diplomatic vessel, staring at the wall of human ships that blocked his path. He had traveled for 2 weeks to reach this border. He had prepared speeches, rehearsed arguments, and brought gifts of technology and resources. None of it mattered. The humans would not even let him cross into their space. Send the message again, Vren ordered. Tell them I take full responsibility for the Council's mistakes. Tell them I acknowledge that humanity was treated unfairly. Tell them I am begging, not as a counselor but as one person to another, for Earth to reconsider. His communications officer worked in silence, then shook his head. Same response, sir. Borders closed. Turn back. Vren felt something break inside him. For 18 months he had fought to reform the Council. He had pushed through legislation giving all species equal voting rights. He had opened Council technology to all members. He had disbanded the committees that had restricted human development, but it was too late. The reforms came after Earth left, and they meant nothing to empty space. Sir, we are detecting significant military movements in human space, his sensor officer reported. Their fleet is 3 times larger than our intelligence suggested, and the technology readings are far beyond what we expected. Of course they were. While the galaxy tore itself apart, Earth had been building. While the Council struggled just to communicate across its territory, humanity had been advancing. They had used their isolation wisely. Prepare a data package, Vren said. Include all footage from Sector 9, the slave markets, the destroyed worlds, the extinction events. Add the messages from the Pelthic refugees. Add casualty counts from all the wars currently raging in Council space. Send it to Earth. Sir, they have ignored every previous data package. Send it anyway. Maybe the 891,000 will work where 890,000 did not. The officer looked confused. Sir? Just do it, Vren said wearily. The package was sent. Like all the others, it received no response. But Vren knew someone was watching. Somewhere on Earth, in rooms like the one where Director Minho sat, humans were monitoring everything. They saw the suffering. They chose to look away. Vren's ship turned and began the long journey back to Council space. Behind him, the wall of human ships remained unmoved, uncaring, unyielding. In the abandoned Council chamber on Vakros Prime, High Arbiter Kelos floated alone. Most of the Council members had stopped attending sessions. What was the point? Without the ability to coordinate, without the military force to back up decisions, the Council had become meaningless. Kelos had lived for 8,000 years. It had seen empires rise and fall. It had guided the Council through countless crises. But now at the end, it finally understood the truth. The Council had not kept peace for 10,000 years through wisdom or justice. It had kept peace because humanity did the actual work. Humans fought the wars, stopped the invasions, protected the weak, and died in the process. The Council had simply taken credit and congratulated itself on its enlightened leadership. Now the humans were gone, and the carefully maintained illusion collapsed. Species that had been held in check by fear of human soldiers now acted without restraint. Border disputes that had been resolved by human mediators now exploded into wars. Trade routes that had been protected by human patrols now swarmed with pirates. Kelos dimmed until it was barely visible in the empty chamber. It had a message prepared for Earth, an apology, an acknowledgement of every wrong the Council had committed. An admission that humanity had been right about everything, but would it matter? Would humans care about the regrets of a dying organization? Kelos transmitted the message anyway, sending it toward Earth on the slow, conventional channels that were all that remained. In the message, it said the one thing it should have said 300 years ago. You were equals. We should have treated you as such. We are sorry. The message traveled through space at slower than light speeds. By the time it reached Earth, weeks would have passed. By then, more worlds would have fallen. More species would have been enslaved or destroyed. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Yuna finished her shift and walked out into the sunlight. The planet was beautiful, peaceful, and safe. No wars touched its surface. No bombs fell from its skies. Humanity had pulled back behind its walls and found prosperity in isolation. But Yuna could not stop thinking about the screens in the control room. The burning worlds. The refugee ships with nowhere to go. The desperate messages that went unanswered. She walked to a memorial park where names were carved into black stone. 890,000 names. Human soldiers who died serving the Council. Her grandfather's name was there near the bottom of the western wall. Was it worth it? She whispered to the stone. Did your sacrifice mean anything? The stone offered no answers, but Yuna thought she knew what her grandfather would say. He had believed in helping others. He had believed that the strong had a duty to protect the weak. He had believed that humanity's strength came not from weapons or technology, but from choosing to stand for something bigger than itself. Earth had turned away from those beliefs. Maybe it had to. Maybe the galaxy had left them no choice. Admiral Cade stood on the observation deck of the battleship Defiance, watching stars that looked peaceful from this distance. 3 years had passed since Earth closed its borders. 3 years of isolation, of building, of watching the galaxy tear itself apart. But now something new was happening, something that changed everything. Show me the projection again, Cade ordered. The holographic display activated, showing a red mass spreading across the galaxy map like blood in water. The Kelthros swarm. Extragalactic invaders that had been contained in the outer void for centuries by human-maintained defense stations. When Earth withdrew, those stations went dark. The swarm broke through. 3 Council worlds consumed in 2 months, his tactical officer reported. Current projections show the swarm will reach human space in 18 to 24 months. Cade felt ice in his stomach. The swarm was not like other threats. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They consumed everything biological in their path, converting matter into more of themselves. Entire worlds reduced to bare rock stripped of every living thing. Has the Council mounted any defense? Scattered resistance, sir, but without coordination, without unified command, their fleets are being destroyed piecemeal. The swarm adapts to their tactics too quickly. A door opened behind Cade. Captain Yuna entered, her uniform bearing new insignia. She had been promoted twice in 3 years, her skill and dedication earning recognition despite her vocal questions about Earth's isolation policy. "Sir, I have the reconnaissance data you requested," Yuna said, handing him a data chip. "It is worse than we thought." Cade inserted the chip and watched the footage. His reconnaissance ships had been monitoring the swarm's advance from a safe distance. The images showed horrors that made his 3 decades of combat experience feel inadequate. Ships torn apart by biological weapons that ate through metal, planets covered in writhing masses of swarm organisms, refugees fleeing in every direction, only to be hunted down and consumed, the Council fleet trying to make a stand, only to be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. "How many species have been completely destroyed?" Cade asked. 17 confirmed extinct, sir. 8 more on the verge. And those are just the ones we can verify. There are probably more. Cade closed his eyes. 17 species. Billions of individuals. Entire civilizations, their art and music and history all gone. Consumed by an enemy that the Council could not stop because they lacked the coordination, the military strength, and the tactical leadership that humanity had once provided. "Sir, there is something else," Yuna said carefully. "We intercepted a message from Ambassador Rin. She is still with the Pelthic refugee fleet. She wants us to know that the swarm has reached their last colony world. Within a month, the Pelthic species will be functionally extinct unless someone intervenes." Cade had met Ambassador Rin once years ago at a diplomatic function. She had been kind, genuinely interested in human culture, and one of the few aliens who had treated him as an equal rather than a useful tool. Her world had supported Earth's membership bid every time it came to a vote. Has she requested asylum in human space? No, sir. She says the Pelthics will not abandon the other refugee species. If Earth will not help all of them, she would rather they face their fate together. Dignity even in the face of extinction. Cade felt respect for that, and grief that it would mean nothing against the swarm. "I need to speak with Director Minho," Cade said. In his underground command center, Director Minho reviewed the same reports that kept him awake most nights now. The swarm was coming, and Earth would have to fight eventually. The only question was whether they would fight alone or with allies. His console chimed. Admiral Cade's face appeared on the screen. "Director, we need to talk about the swarm situation," Cade said without preamble. "I am reviewing it now. Your projections are accurate. The swarm will reach our borders in 20 months, possibly less if they accelerate their consumption rate. Then you understand we cannot sit behind our walls anymore. We have to fight." "We will fight," Minho agreed. "When the swarm reaches human territory, we will defend ourselves with everything we have." "That is not what I mean, and you know it," Cade said, frustration clear in his voice. "If we wait until they reach us, they will be too strong. They will have consumed half the galaxy, incorporated countless technologies, adapted to every weapon system. We need to fight them now while they are still relatively contained. Fighting them now means fighting alongside the Council. It means sending human ships into harm's way to protect species that spent 300 years treating us as expendable. It means risking human lives for people who never valued those lives. It means saving billions of innocents," Cade countered, "and it means saving ourselves. The swarm does not stop. If we let them take the galaxy, they will come for us eventually. Better to stop them now with allies than face them alone later." Minho was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the screens around him, showing the chaos and suffering across the galaxy. He thought about Earth's position, about the strength they had built in isolation, about the price of staying hidden while the galaxy burned. "I will bring your recommendation to the government," Minho finally said, "but I cannot promise they will listen. There are many who believe Earth's only duty is to Earth. They say we tried to save the galaxy for 300 years, and it got us nothing but graves and contempt." "Then they are fools," Cade said bluntly. "We did not stop helping because it was not rewarded. We stopped because we were not respected. But letting innocent species die to prove a point is not strength. It is cowardice dressed up as principle." After Cade disconnected, Minho sat in silence. The Admiral was not wrong. Earth had the power to make a difference. They had built a fleet larger than anyone realized, armed with weapons that would shock the Council. They could fight the swarm and possibly win, but at what cost? How many humans would die fighting for a galaxy that had proven it did not value human sacrifice? How could he ask soldiers to give their lives for people who had called them too aggressive, too emotional, too young to have a real voice? His console chimed again. Lieutenant Yuna requested a meeting. Minho sighed and approved it. Yuna entered his office with the determined look he had come to recognize. She was going to argue for intervention. She always did. "Sir, I have been analyzing the swarm's advance pattern," she began. "If we move now, if we deploy our fleet to key defensive positions, we can slow their advance significantly. The Council forces are fighting bravely, but they need leadership, coordination, and most importantly, they need the quantum communication network." "The network we shut down," Minho said. "The network we could reactivate. Sir, I know Earth's position. I understand why we walked away. But the swarm does not care about politics or history. It just consumes. And if we do not stop it now, we will face it alone and weakened by everything it has absorbed. You are asking me to undo 3 years of policy. You are asking me to risk human lives for the Council again." "No, sir," Yuna said firmly. "I am asking you to risk human lives for Earth. Because fighting now with allies is how we survive. Hiding behind our walls and hoping the swarm fills up on other species before reaching us is not a strategy. It is suicide with extra steps." Minho studied her. She had grown harder in 3 years, her idealism tempered by watching atrocities unfold on the screens. But she had not broken. She still believed humanity could be better than its anger. "I will schedule a war council meeting," Minho said. "Admiral Cade will present his military assessment. You will present the ethical arguments, and then our government will decide if Earth fights or hides." "Thank you, sir." "Do not thank me yet, Lieutenant. Even if we decide to fight, it may already be too late. The Council is fractured, species are scattered, and trust, once broken, is not easily repaired." That night, far from Earth in the cold of space, Ambassador Rin sat in her small quarters aboard the refugee ship. She had received no response to her messages to Earth. She had not expected one, but she kept sending them anyway, recording the last days of her species for anyone who might someday care. "The swarm will reach us in 26 days, she said to the camera. "We have nowhere left to run. The Council fleet is gone. Our defenders are dead. Our worlds are ash. But I want whoever finds this to know that the Pelthic people did not die in despair. We die knowing we tried to be kind. We tried to treat others with respect. We tried to build something better than violence and dominance." She paused, thinking of all the humans she had known. Good people, strong people, people who had saved her world a dozen times before Earth walked away. "I do not blame humanity for leaving," she continued. "The Council failed them in every way that mattered. We used their strength and gave nothing back. We are paying for that now. I only hope that Earth, safe behind its walls, remembers that not everyone treated them with contempt. Some of us saw their value. Some of us tried to help. And some of us will die wishing we had done more." She ended the recording and set it to broadcast on all frequencies. Maybe it would reach Earth. Maybe someone would hear it and feel something, or maybe it would just drift through space, a ghost's last words to an empty galaxy. Outside her window, the stars still shone, but Rin knew they would not shine for long. Fleet Admiral Cade stood before the largest gathering of human military force in history. 4,000 ships filled the space around Earth's moon, each one armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Captains watched their screens, waiting for the order that would change everything. 4 years had passed since Earth walked away from the Council. 4 years since the quantum network went dark. 4 years since humanity turned its back on a galaxy that had used them and discarded them. Now Earth was coming back, but not as servants. As saviors on their own terms. "All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Cade," his voice transmitted across every vessel. "In 10 minutes, we jump to the front lines of the Kelthros swarm invasion. I will not lie to you about what we face. The swarm has consumed 17 species. It controls 42 worlds. It has adapted to every weapon the Council threw at it. And it is still coming." He paused, looking at the faces watching him from 1,000 screens. Young and old, veterans and rookies. All of them human. All of them about to fight for a galaxy that had never thanked them. Some of you are wondering why we are doing this. Why we are risking our lives for species that treated us as tools. Why we are saving a Council that never respected us. Let me be clear. We are not fighting for the Council. We are not fighting for gratitude or recognition. We are fighting because the swarm threatens Earth. We are fighting because waiting for it to reach our borders is suicide. And we are fighting because, despite everything, we choose to be better than the people who wronged us. He straightened, his voice growing stronger. Earth walked away to teach the galaxy a lesson. They learned it. They learned what the galaxy looks like without humanity standing in the gap. They learned the price of taking us for granted. But now the lesson is over. Now we show them something else. We show them what humanity is really made of. Not anger, not resentment, strength, courage, and the will to fight for what is right even when no one is watching. All ships prepare for jump. Destination, the front lines. Let us remind the galaxy what happens when Earth decides to fight. 4,000 ships vanished in flashes of light, crossing vast distances in seconds. When they emerged, the crew members saw hell. The swarm filled the view screens like a living nightmare. Millions of biological ships, each one a twisted mass of consumed materials and adapted technologies. They moved in perfect coordination, a hive mind that thought with the speed of quantum computation. In front of the swarm, the Council fleet fought desperately. 200 alien ships, all that remained of the once mighty Galactic Navy, fired everything they had at the approaching mass. It was not enough. The swarm absorbed their weapons, adapted, and kept coming. On the Council flagship, Councillor Vren watched his tactical display with growing despair. They had maybe an hour before the swarm overwhelmed their position, maybe less. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures," his sensor officer shouted. "Behind us." Hundreds of ships just appeared out of faster-than-light travel. Vren's heart sank. More swarm? Had they been flanked? Then he saw the identification codes appearing on his screen. Human ships. Thousands of them. "Open a channel," Vren ordered, his voice shaking. The view screen activated, showing Admiral Cade in a uniform Vren had never seen before. The human looked older, harder, but his eyes held determination that burned like a star. "Councillor Vren," Cade said, "Earth has decided the lesson is over. With your permission, we would like to help." Vren wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. After 4 years of begging, of desperate messages, of watching the galaxy burn, humanity had come back. Not because they owed the Council anything, but because they chose to. "Permission granted," Vren managed to say. "And Admiral, thank you." Cade nodded once, then his expression became all business. "All Council ships, this is Fleet Admiral Cade of Earth. Fall back to coordinates we are transmitting. Regroup behind our line. We will take the front." The human fleet moved forward with a precision the Council forces had forgotten was possible. Each ship knew exactly where to go, exactly when to fire, exactly how to coordinate with the ships around it. The quantum communication network was active again, and with it humanity fought as one unified force. Captain Yuna commanded the destroyer Resilience, positioned in the forward assault line. She watched the swarm approach on her view screen, remembering every time she had argued for this moment. Every time she had insisted Earth could not hide forever. "Weapons ready," she ordered. Singularity cannons charged. Quantum disruption fields at full power. Her tactical officer looked nervous. "Captain, the swarm is adapting. They are already countering some of our weapons." "They have never seen all of our weapons," Yuna replied calmly. "Fire everything." The human fleet opened up with technology that made the Council's weapons look primitive. Singularity cannons created miniature black holes that consumed swarm ships wholesale. Quantum disruption fields tore apart the exotic matter the swarm used for armor. Dimensional weapons attacked from angles the swarm could not perceive. For the first time since the invasion began, the swarm's advance stopped. On the refugee ship where Ambassador Rin waited to die, alarms suddenly stopped blaring. The crew members looked at each other in confusion. "The swarm has halted its pursuit," someone reported. "They are engaging something else. Something that is actually hurting them." Rin rushed to the view screen. In the distance, she could see flashes of light. Human ships. Thousands of them. Fighting with a ferocity and skill that took her breath away. "They came back," she whispered. "Earth came back." The battle raged for 6 hours. The swarm adapted and evolved, throwing new biological weapons at the human fleet. But for every adaptation, humanity had a counter. They had spent 4 years preparing for this fight, studying the swarm from a distance, designing weapons specifically to destroy it, and they were winning. Director Minho watched from Earth's command center, coordinating the effort from half a galaxy away, thanks to the quantum network. Beside him, Lieutenant Yuna's replacement monitored casualty reports. "We have lost 43 ships," the officer reported. 4,217 casualties. But the swarm has lost 70% of its forward force. It is retreating. Minho felt each casualty like a knife to the heart. 4,000 humans dead in 6 hours. More would die before this was over. But they were dying on their own terms, fighting a battle Earth chose to fight, not one the Council demanded they fight. Send medical ships to recover the wounded, Minho ordered, and prepare evacuation coordinates for the refugee fleets. Bring them into human space. All of them. We will provide sanctuary until the galaxy stabilizes. It was the right thing to do. The strong protecting the weak, not because they had to, because they chose to. The battle continued for 3 more days. Human ships pushed the swarm back world by world, system by system. They coordinated with the remnants of the Council fleet, teaching them new tactics, sharing technology, fighting as allies rather than servants. Admiral Cade stood on the bridge of the Defiance watching the final swarm stronghold fall. They had driven the extra-galactic invaders back through the breach they had entered through. Now human engineers sealed that breach with technology that would prevent anything from crossing it again. The war was over. The swarm was defeated, and the galaxy was saved, not by the Council that had ruled for 10,000 years, but by the species they had dismissed as too young and too aggressive. In the aftermath, as ships regrouped and the wounded were tended, a new kind of silence fell across the galaxy. Not the silence of broken communication and chaos, the silence of exhaustion and relief and something that might, in time, become gratitude. Dr. Hanna, Earth's foreign minister, addressed the representatives of surviving Council species. They gathered in a new Council chamber, this one built on neutral ground with equal seats for all participants. The Galactic Council is dead, Hanna said simply. It failed because it valued hierarchy over partnership. It failed because it used some species as tools while elevating others as masters. It failed because it forgot that true strength comes from mutual respect. She looked around the room, meeting eyes and sensors and whatever organs the various species use to perceive the world. Earth will help rebuild, but not under the old system. We propose a new organization, a galactic union where every species has an equal voice, where technology is shared freely, where military force is used only defensively, and only with the consent of all members, where no species is valued above another. Counselor Vren, older now and bearing scars from the Swarm War, stood slowly. And if we refuse these terms? Then Earth wishes you well and returns to our borders, Hanna replied. We will not force anyone to accept our vision. But we will not return to the old ways either. Those days are over. Vren looked around at his fellow council members. What was left of them? Then he looked at the empty seats where 17 extinct species would have sat. The cost of the old ways was written in those empty chairs. I vote to accept Earth's proposal, Vren said. And I propose that the first act of the new Galactic Union is to erect a memorial, to remember the 890,000 humans who died fighting for a council that never valued them, and to remember the lessons we learned when Earth walked away. The vote was unanimous. 5 years later, Captain Yuna,